What is going down, my YouTube family? It is your boy Zary, and we are here today to talk to you a little bit about Mystery Shards. I starting to dabble in Raid, been playing it for a while. I got 2 different accounts, and I'm getting some new people into the game to try to play it. And in Raid Shadow Legends, as we know, if you're a veteran of this game, you got to build team compositions. And there could be certain things you're lacking, but as a new player, you're only going to get a few ancients here and there, maybe 1 void, and you're really not going to get a lot of stuff, unless you're extremely lucky, right off the bat that could really help you. So let's take a look at Mystery Shards. What are some characters from the Mystery Shards that you could help for your clan boss team? Clan boss is one of the best ways to get some good gear, get more shards, get some silver, brews, things like that could really help you out. So Mystery Shards have a drop rate of 1.4% for a rare. And you get hundreds of them. So you're going to get rare characters from them, and you're going to get uncommon characters. So we're going to look at the uncommon and rare from each class. I'm going to pick out 2. Some of them I really don't like, but I told myself I'm going to pick 2. And we're going to go from there. So, let's take a look at these Mystery Shards. Let's see what we can get. And we are going to pop 10 here just for the sake of it. And, Work Chanter could be on the list. Satyr could be on the list. But these characters could probably help you progress, at least for a little bit, till you can replace. This game is about upgrading your characters and your champions. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go through, we're going to break it down. Let's get into it. And just so if you're wondering and you want to try this out and you haven't jumped into it yet, XMG fam, XMGF is the thing. Plenty of open spots. We're just in here having some fun, trying game out, playing it together. So if you want to try to find a guild, come on over, jump in with us, have some fun. Nothing crazy, just be active. Alright, so we're going to start with Banner Lords. Alright, so we're going to take a look at Clan Boss Champions. Now, Clan Boss Champions, you're looking for specific things. You're looking for some poison. You could possibly be looking for an attack decrease, defense decrease, healing abilities, anything that could maybe give you a shield or revive or reflect damage, things like that. That's what we want to look for, and your team could be missing something like that, or a speed up character, things of that nature. So we're going to jump into Banner Lords. The first champion that I want to talk about is Valkyrie. Valkyrie is a Banner Lord, obviously support character. She attacks an enemy 1 time. Then her energizing presence can be a 3-turn cooldown, increases the duration of all buffs on allies by 1 turn. Also decreases the duration of all debuffs on allies by 1 turn. Places a 25% increase attack on all allies for 2 turns. Definitely can be beneficial. And places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns. The value of the shield depends on the champion's level. Heals all allies according to the number of buffs they currently are under. So she could definitely help you out in the clan boss. The next one up, Bombarder. Bombarder is a rare attack champion. Now he's slow. He's going to be harder to keep alive. But the reason I have him on here, he attacks 1 enemy, has a 5% chance of increasing all debuffs by 1 turn. You can get that up to a 15% chance, and it's on a basic, so why not? I mean, you're looking for that debuff extender. That could help out quite a bit. Also, you're attacking an enemy, placing a 30% increased speed buff on this champion if it's critical. So he'll be doing some damage, he'll be increasing buffs hopefully. And then his third ability, he puts on the weak version of poison, but he attacks 3 times. Each hit has a 50% chance. You can get that up to a 75% chance with books. So he could be a small substitute for poison and a debuff extender. Bombarder could help you out. Alright, now we are on to uncommons. I'm only going to say this once, but remember, you can upgrade your uncommon characters. You can book them essentially with duplicates of the same character, so it's very easy to book these characters out with the amount of mystery shards you're going to be thrown. So the first one in Battlelords, Wordbearer. Wordbearer is a support champion, attacks one enemy, has a 25% chance of placing a 25% decrease accuracy debuff for 2 turns, and you can get that up to a 50% chance when it's booked. Decrease accuracy helps you avoid those stuns and the poisons, and then she places a 30% increased defense buff on all allies, which can be on a 2-turn cooldown. So essentially, every time this drops off, you can put it right back up. Could definitely increase your survivability. Alright, next up we have Fireblade. Fireblade is an attack champion. A1 ability attacks one enemy, places a 25% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns if it's critical, so stack some critical chance on her. We get that decreased attack there. And then her A2. It is a 3-turn cooldown, attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 30% chance, 50 when book, of placing the weak version of poison for 2 turns. So all in all, not bad. Fireblade definitely could help you out. So we're moving on to High Elves, and it should be no surprise that Apothecary is here. You can get Apothecary from a Mystery Shard. He is a rare. It can happen. He is endgame viable. He is just absolutely amazing. He attacks at random 3 times, heals target ally for 35% of HP, and it can be a critical hit, so you can put crit rate on him. You know, you can get that heal up to 50%. You can get the cooldown down to 2 turns. Then he places a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns, fills the turn meter by 15%. You can get that to a 3-turn cooldown. And he has a pretty good aura. It's for dungeons. It's not going to really help you out in the clan boss, but defense in dungeons is pretty solid, so he can help you there as well. But he checks off that turn meter manipulation box with the heals, Apothecary Beast. Now you could go the starter champion of Elaine here, but I'm going to skip out on Elaine. She can be used in the clan boss for sure. She can be just your single target damage dealer. No problem there, but that's not what I'm kind of going for. I'm going to go with Harris. Harris here, she can be pulled. She is farmable, right? Her A1 grants an extra turn if an enemy is killed. That's not going to really help you out. A2 removes a random debuff from an ally. Has a 60% chance of placing a 30% speed increase to all allies for 2 turns. You book that up. Gets to a 100% chance. And she's a cleanser, so you can take those poisons off. You can take that stun away. Then she has a passive ability, counterattacks the attacker when this ally is attacked. So when he does that smash, you're getting back a little bit more damage. And she does have speed in dungeons, so pretty good aura as well. But Harris, farmable character, easier to book out, can definitely help you out in clan boss. Now there's only 3 uncommons, and I gotta pick 2. We have, first one here is Elfguard. Elfguard attacks one enemy, 25% chance of placing a 25% decrease attack debuff on a basic. Okay, really, she isn't, I wouldn't recommend her, but if you're missing that decrease attack and you pull her, she can be used. And then her A2 attacks one enemy, decreases turn meter by 50%. The clan boss is immune to turn meter reductions, so that isn't going to help you. But if you're missing that decrease attack, it is on her A1. Might be able to help you out. Aristocrat is the second one here. She has attacks one enemy, 25% chance of placing a heal reduction debuff for 2 turns. The clan boss doesn't heal itself, so that really doesn't help you. But she has on her A2, which is a 3-turn cooldown, she attacks an enemy 2 times, has a 50% chance of placing a 15% weaken debuff, which means she'll do more damage to the clan boss. So she can be used kind of as the defense decrease. If you're missing that and you have her, weaken will help you out, especially in the early clan boss. Moving on to the Sacred Order. Mother Superior comes in for me. I own Mother Superior and I use her. She has a 35% chance of placing in a decrease attack debuff for 2 turns on her basic. I'll take it, 1 in 4 shot. Then she heals all allies by 30% of this champion's max HP, so you just load up her HP. She places a shield buff equal to any surplus heals for 2 turns if the target is fully healed by this skill. so you can get that shield, kind of that overhealing. Then her A3 places a 7.5% continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns, places a shield buff equal to 10% of the target's HP on all allies for 2 turns if the ally's HP is full, and it can be on a 4-turn cooldown. And she has a 13% speed aura in all battles, so it can help you kind of jumpstart. Or for me, this is one of my leads in Tag Team Arena because, you know what, it's a speed lead and I'll take it. You could use Aethel. Aethel's a very good character. Again, she can be your nucleus. She attacks a couple times. All the starter champions could be used here, but I'm not going to go with her. I'm going to go with Pendant. She could really help you out in early clan boss. On her A1, attacks an enemy 2 times, has a 30% chance of placing a 25% decrease attack buff on 1 turn, so it's on her basic. That can be up to a 50% chance when she's booked. Her A2 attacks 1 enemy, places a counterattack buff on this champion for 1 turn. So she gets hit with that slam, you put it on right before the slam comes, you can counterattack that, you can put the decrease attack back on with your basic, so it can help you out there. And then removes all debuffs from this champion and places a block debuffs on this champion for 3 turns, can be a 4-turn cooldown when it's booked. And you know what, I wish it was everybody, but she is definitely usable because she'll resist the poison, she'll resist the stun, and if you do it right, she could be the one taking the stuns, and if that's up for 3 turns, could definitely help you out. Now, when it comes to the 2 uncommons here, it should be no surprise. Outlaw Monk is a great character for clan boss as an uncommon. Attacks 1 enemy, has a 10% chance of granting an extra turn. Now, he doesn't, by an extra turn, it doesn't mean he has to do his basic again. Okay, that doesn't mean that at all. All that means is that he could get an extra turn, and if his A2 places 2 5% poison debuffs, which is the strong version of poison, on a 3-turn cooldown when it's booked for 2 turns, so essentially you can keep that up all the time. He is a very solid option for poison. Outlaw Monk, very good uncommon for early clan boss. And the second one, Armiger. Armiger, so good. Attacks 1 enemy, decreases the turn meter by 30%, obviously immune. If this attack is a critical, damage inflicted is proportional to defense, so you can make him super tanky, book him out, and his second move is what is awesome about him. He attacks an enemy 1 time, damage inflicted is proportional to defense, so again, off of defense, and increases according to the enemy's max HP. Enemies killed by this skill cannot be revived, so he can be good for Ice Golem as well, but Clan Boss for sure, because that Clan Boss is going to have an exorbitant amount of health, so you can really amp up the damage. Armiger, those Armiger and Outlaw Monk are uncommon studs. Barbarians, first one, Marked. Marked is an exceptional rare. A1 ability, attacks 1 enemy, has a 30% chance of placing a 30% decreased defense buff. That can get all the way up to 80%, so huge on a basic. A2 ability places a decreased accuracy debuff for 2 turns, can get down to a 3-turn cooldown. Places block debuffs on all allies for 1 turn, and a 60% increased debuff, can get down to a 3-turn cooldown. Fantastic character. Marked can really help you out in clan boss. She's very good. Faction wars, all that stuff. I will use her there. And I gotta go with my girl War Maiden here. War Maiden is just an exceptional. She's farmable. She has a poison, 30% chance to place the weak version of poison for 1 turn on her basic. She attacks an enemy, places a 50% increase attack buff on the champion, and places an extra hit if it's critical. The extra hit cannot be a critical, but still more damage. And then attacks all enemies with, when booked, 100% chance of placing a 60% decreased debuff, and it can be on a 3-turn cooldown, so she can help you out in multiple areas. War Maiden can help you out to start. She's not going to maybe get you past normal, but to start, great champion. Alright, on to the uncommons for Barbarians. We have Outrider. Outrider. 30% decreased debuff on a basic. It can get all the way up to a 50% shot. Then he can decrease enemies' max HP by 15% of damage dealt. And then he just has an AoE. Not bad, but all in all, pretty good. Alright, next up we have Spiritwalker. She is a support champion. And her A1 reads, attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 20% chance, 45 when booked, of placing a 25% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns. Not bad for a basic. Then her Battle Trance is a 2-turn cooldown, removes all buffs from the champion, then places a 25% increase attack buff on all allies on a 2-turn cooldown. Not bad at all. Really, really like Spiritwalker. Moving on to Ogre and Tribes, we have Wagonbane. Wagonbane is a newer rare support champion. Places a 35% chance of a 50% decrease accuracy debuff. That can go all the way up to 50%, so that'll help you with the stuns and the poisons. He attacks one enemy, places a 7.5 continuous heal buff on an ally with the lowest HP for 2 turns, and then attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance, so when booked, it can get up to 100 on a 4-turn cooldown of placing a 60% decrease debuff for 2 turns. Also has a 75% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter, which isn't going to help, but the 60% decreased defense on a 4-turn cooldown. Pretty nice, not too bad. Not a real big fan of Ogre and Tribes for the clan boss, though. And then for the second one, if I had to pick one, I would not recommend it, though, is Fortress Goon, simply for his A3. Heals all allies by 10% of their max health, places a 30% debuff on a 4-turn cooldown, increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns, and he has ally defense in dungeons. He has a decreased speed debuff, and he has a heal reduction, so he might be able to help you out other places, but I had to pick 2, and yeah. Okay, Brute, uncommon, Ogre and Tribe, attacks 2 times at random, has a 50% chance of placing a 5% poison debuff for 1 turn if the attack is critical, so you just load critical chance on him, and then attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of inflicting a critical hit, so going to be pretty much a critical hit on 2 turns, but his basic, you just kind of want to spam that, get that poison up, could help you out there. Then there's Oldbeard. Oldbeard, I actually kind of like the uncommons more than the rares for the clan boss. Attacks an enemy, has a 25% chance, can get up to 35% chance when booked for a 25% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns. And then he has, attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance, can get up to a 65% chance with booked of placing the leech debuff. So it's kind of like health steal. Anybody who attacks anybody with leech heals themselves. So he's kind of like a passive healer when he can land that leech debuff. But Oldbeard isn't a bad choice for the second uncommon in Ogre and Tribe. Moving on to Lizardmen. In the rare category, we have Gator, who is a support, and he has heal reduction. Not really going to help us there. Then he has a 25% increase attack buff to all allies for 2 turns, increasing your damage. And then he removes all debuffs from all allies on a 3-turn cooldown. That could help you out in Clan Boss. Then we have Bogwalker. Bogwalker, I really, really like. Defensive-based champion, has a 30% chance, can get up to 50 when booked, of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns. He's a defensive champion. He attacks all enemies, placing a 30% increase defense buff on all allies for 2 turns. And then his passive places a 30% reflex damage buff on all allies for 1 turn when he's attacked with a critical hit. So he can definitely help you out in the clan boss if you're looking for decreased attack and increased defense with a little reflect damage, doing a little bit more damage. Really like Bogwalker. For the uncommons, not a big fan of Lizardmen uncommons, but we have Stalker here, and on his A1 he attacks an enemy, heals this champion by 10% of the damage dealt, so he can hopefully stay alive a little bit longer. He is HP. And then on his A2, attacks an enemy 2 times, has a 15% chance, 25% when booked, of placing a 25% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns. And then I gotta pick another one. I'm gonna go with Skinner, simply for his A2, that if you're attacking the clan boss when they get the attack up, he can help you remove the buffs from that target. 3-turn cooldown. I had to pick 2. So there's Skinner. Moving on to Skinwalkers, we have Flashmonger in the rare category. We have attacks an enemy 3 times, so he can do some decent damage. Places a 25% increase attack and a 15% increase crit rate buff on this champion for 2 turns. Then he gets an extra turn, 3 turn cooldown. That is pretty nice. But then he attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance, 75 when booked, for the 60% decreased defense debuff. So the big version of decreased defense, that could help you out for sure. The second rare for the Skinwalkers is Grappler. Grappler here, he attacks 2 times at random, has a 15% chance, up to 25%, to place a 15% weaken debuff, so we'll be getting more damage out of that. Then on his A2 ability, attacks 1 enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 50% chance, goes up to a 75% chance, when booked, of placing 2 of the weak versions of the poison debuff on a 3-turn cooldown. Not too bad. Then his A3 places a shield buff on all allies equal to 20% of their max health and a 15% reflect damage buff on all allies for 2 turns. Definitely a plus. Grappler could help you out in the clan boss for sure. Now there's only 2 uncommons, so Windtalker. Does have a decreased accuracy. The weak version of it can be up to a 35% chance on his basic, and then he has a 60% increased defense buff to the target ally for 2 turns, and then heals that target for 25% of their max HP, so it's really not terrible. And then obviously we have to go with the other one, Satyr. Satyr has a decreased speed debuff, okay, and then he has attacks 4 times at random, decreases the turn meter by 15%. Really not going to help you out at all, really, in Clan Boss, but I had to pick 2, and there's only 2. So yeah. Next up, we are on to Orcs, and we have Treefeller, who is a rare, has a 35% chance of placing a 25% accuracy decrease debuff for 2 turns on the basic, can go up to a 40% chance when booked. Her A2 chop down, you attack 2 times. Each hit has a 50% chance of placing the weak version of poison for 2 turns. Then each hit also has a 50% chance to place a decreased speed debuff for 2 turns, and that can get up to 75% chance of placing the poison, and that's what we're looking for. And then on our A30, each hit has a 70% chance, can be 100% chance of placing a bomb that'll detonate after 3 turns. Just a little bit of extra damage, so 4-turn cooldown. That's Treefeller. Then we have Totem. Totem is the other rare support champion. Attacks 1 enemy, 20% chance. When booked, 30% chance of a 2.5% poison debuff for 2 turns on a basic. Then she has a 50% chance to remove 1 random buff from the target, so if you're attacking after that 50% threshold, she could help you out. And then she places 15% continuous heal buff on this champion for 2 turns if a buff is removed, so she can sustain herself. And then she attacks all enemies, placing a 30% decreased defense buff on the target for 2 turns. It can be a 4-turn cooldown. Totem, not my favorite, not my least favorite. Now we are on to the uncommons. There's only 3 of them, but Tracker could not be bad for you. Attacks an enemy 2 times. The second hit has a 10% chance, 20% when booked, of placing the weak version of poison. And then attacks 1 enemy, has a 20% chance, 30 when booked, of placing the 30% decreased debuff for 2 turns. It can be a 3-turn cooldown. So Tracker, there you go. And I guess if I had to pick a second one, it would be War Chanter. War Chanter attacks an enemy. Stun debuff isn't going to work, but he's an HP champion. But he attacks all enemies, has a 25% chance of placing the 25% decrease attack debuff. Provoke isn't going to work, but when it's booked, it can get up to 40% to get that decrease attack, so he can help you out there. And it will be a 3-turn cooldown, but it's only for 1 turn, but there's only 3 in here. So, War Chanter. Demon Spawn, Diablolist. Farmable character. You can book her out pretty easy. Attacks 1 enemy. Sleep isn't going to help you on her A1. Her A2 attacks all enemies. but she places a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns, and then fills the turn meter of all allies by 15%, decreases the turn meter of all enemies by 15%, but you're just looking for that. You can get it down to a 4-turn cooldown, so she can help you with that turn meter manipulation, speed up your team comp, Diablolist. And the second one, Marquise, I think it is, and on her A1, 25% chance, 30 when booked, of decreasing attack by 25%. She does have weaken, 35% chance when it's booked. It goes up to 50% for the 15% weakened. Deals extra damage to enemies with the weakened debuff. This is on an AoE too, so it could help you in other dungeons. And then she has a freeze debuff, which isn't going to really help you out in clan boss, but we're bringing weaken and that decrease attack, so Marquise could help you out. Uncommons, there's only 5 and they're really not that good, but the first one is Pit Spawn. Attacks 1 enemy, but is a defensive based champion, so that could help you out. Then attacks all enemies, 25% chance, 40% when booked, to decrease 25% attack. For 2 turns, 3-turn cooldown, not too bad for Pit Spawn. Then we have Vial Spawn. Vial Spawn, A1, 5% chance of placing a 25% decrease attack debuff. When that is booked, you can get it up to 30% chance. So not bad, at least on an A1. And then heals an ally by 10% of their max health. And then when you book that out, you're looking at 45%. It's on a 3-turn cooldown, but she can heal. She can put that decrease attack. Vial Spawn. Undead Hordes, no surprise here. Frozen Banshee, made for clan boss. A1. Attacks an enemy 2 times. Each hit has an 80% chance of placing a poison debuff, 5% for 2 turns. If the target is under poison sensitivity debuff, that can be up to 100% when booked. Then you have A2. Attacks an enemy, fills the turn meters of all allies by 20 or 2% for each debuff on the target, and you should have many. That is on a 3-turn cooldown. And then you have your poison sensitivity. It attacks an enemy, places a 25% poison sensitivity debuff for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown, just increasing those ticks on the poison and the more damage you do. She is made for the clan boss. She can also be your leader with the increased accuracy. If you're struggling to land those poisons, she can be your leader. Great, great champion. I run her in both accounts I have, and I love her. The next one up is Grave Chill Killer. Kind of pairs well with Frozen Banshee. Attacks an enemy, 40% chance, 50 when booked, of placing a 5% poison debuff for 1 turn. Attacks an enemy, has a 75% chance of placing a 30% decrease defense debuff for 2 turns, goes up to 100%, and then has a 75% chance of placing a 60% decrease defense. Instead, if the target is under the poison debuff, which they should be, on a 3-turn cooldown. Really cool move. And then attacks 1 enemy 2 times. Each hit places a 2.5% poison debuff for 2 turns, places a 5% poison instead if they're under that poison sensitivity. So you really need Frozen Banshee to get the max, but that could be a 3-turn cooldown. Really, really help you out. Grave Chill Killer. Vulpine is the #1 uncommon for the Undead Hordes, and that is because of A1, attacks an enemy, 60% chance of the 30% decreased defense debuff. When booked out, that can go up to a 45% chance. And then the A2 places a 25% increase attack buff to all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Oop, hit the wrong button. So Vulpine coming in for uncommons. Undead Horde Rare, Skull Square, could help you out. His A1 attacks 1 enemy, 25% chance of placing the decreased speed debuff at a 25% clip. When booked, it goes up to 50. But his A2 attacks 1 enemy, has a 50% chance of placing the 30% decrease defense debuff for 2 turns. And when booked, that can go up to a 55% chance. The freeze isn't going to help you out here, but you need them to be under decreased speed debuff, but 30% decrease on a 3-turn cooldown for 2 turns, not too shabby. Dark Elves, no surprise. Kale, love Kale. best starter champion in my opinion. A1, 2.5% poison. When booked, goes up to 100% shot. Has the attacks all enemies. Has an extra 15% chance of inflicting a critical hit. Fills the turn meter of this champion by 25% for each enemy killed. That's not going to help you out. But then this move attacks 4 times at random. Has a 40% chance, 50 when booked, of placing the 5% poison debuff for 2 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. Really, really help you out. And Clan Boss Kale is awesome. If you didn't start with him and you pull him, that's awesome. After Kale, if you pull this guy in the Dark Elves Judge, you might want to consider him. On his A1 ability, attacks 1 enemy, damage increases by 10% for each debuff on the target, stacking up to a maximum 100%. So can kick out some damage there. It is based on attack. Then his A2 attacks all enemies 2 times and then fills the turn meter by 10% for each critical hit, so you can put some crits on. But then his passive is really what brings it into me. With each hit, he has a 30% chance of placing a 50% decrease accuracy debuff, or a decreased speed, or a 50% decrease attack, or a 60% decrease debuff for 1 turn. So if you have this guy and you don't have a decrease attack, or a decrease accuracy, or a decrease defense, you can use this guy and he can kind of encompass all of them. So, you know, his A1, he can do some damage. A2, bah, but he's attacking 2 times there, and then he attacks an enemy. So every time he goes, you got a shot at one of those debuffs that we're looking for. So Judge could help you out as kind of that niche fill-in for what you're looking for. Now there is only 3 Dark Elves uncommon, so we're going to go with Sniper. You start with her, but she can do some pretty decent damage if you need her to. She attacks enemy 2 times, 15% chance of inflicting a critical hit, fills the champion's turn meter on each critical hit, and then attacks all enemies, 10% chance of placing the decreased speed debuff. There's only 3. Cut me some slack. And the second one, Redeemer, is actually not too bad. She attacks 1 enemy, places a 25% increase attack buff on this champion if it's a critical, okay? But the A2 attacks an enemy, 3-turn cooldown, has a 75% chance when booked of placing the weak version of poison, so she could help you out, do some damage, play some poisons. Attack-based champion, probably not going to live too long. Knight Revenant. No shocker, Coffin Smasher. I run this guy in both of my comps, love him. Attacks an enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 15% chance, 30 when booked, of placing the 50% decrease accuracy debuff, and that's really only reason you got him. But he also has HP burn, 50% chance, 75 when booked of putting the HP debuff on for 2 turns, and then his passive decreases the damage inflicted by AoEs by 5%, so helps out with that smash. Coffin Smasher is awesome. Now after Coffin Smasher and the Knight Revenant, we have Magus. On the A1, she puts a stun on. Not going to really help us, but has a 75% chance of placing the 5% poisons. That's the big one on all enemies for 2 turns, so AoE, so it could be used in different places. And when it's booked, it gets a 100% chance of landing that. It's on a 3-turn cooldown when booked. And then A3 attacks all enemies, then heals this champion. The amount by which the champion is healed is equal to the damage inflicted, so she's self-maintaining. Magus, not too bad, I don't think. Gets the cooldown down to 4 turns, so just another option for you. Now again, I only have 3 to choose from, so we have Cultist here for his A2 ability. Has a 25% chance, 50 when booked, of placing poison on a 4-turn cooldown. I guess that could help you out. Decreased speed, and then he increases crit rate of all allies on a 2-turn cooldown, so that's really why I chose him. Increasing that crit rate, just give you out some more damage on a 2-turn cooldown, so pretty much every time it drops off, you can put it right back on. That could help you out. On to Dwarves, our final faction, so if you made it this far, thank you so much. Dwarves, Avir the Alchemage, probably isn't a shock. Attacks an enemy, 30% chance, 45 when booked, of placing the 5% poison debuff for 2 turns. He has attack all enemies, places a 50% chance, that can be 100 when booked, of placing a 25 decrease attack buff, and then also places a 15% decreased speed buff if they are under poison, and then fills the turn meter of all allies by 15% and heals all allies by 15% of this champion's max HP. So you're looking for HP and accuracy, speed on this character. I really like Avir the Alchemage. Next one up here is Gloria Bane, and he could help out quite a bit. Attacks an enemy 2 times, each hit has a 30% chance, 40 when booked, of placing the 30% decreased debuff for 2 turns. Then he attacks one enemy, damage increases by 5% for each debuff on the target. And then he has an attack one enemy, places a 15% increase crit rate buff on all allies for 2 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. And he has resistance in all battles by 30 on his aura. Wrong button again. So Gloria Bane could help you out for sure. You got the decreased defense, he's getting more attack, and then he's giving you the crit chance increase. So I like Gloria Bane. Now for the uncommons, I only got 4 to choose from, and we have Slicer, pretty much for his second ability, has a 30% chance of placing a 30% decreased debuff for 2 turns, can be a 50% chance when booked. So if you're looking for that decreased defense, he could help you out. And then we have Tunnel Steward. Tunnel Steward, 25% chance, 35 when booked, of placing the weak version of poison on his A1. And then he has attacks one enemy and has a 50% chance to increase the duration of 2 random debuffs for 1 turn on a 3-turn cooldown when booked. So Tunnel Steward can put up some poison. He can increase the duration of your debuffs. Can really help you out, Tunnel Steward. So there it is, my XMG family. That was a mouthful. And again, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. I hope this helped you out. And if you want to see like more videos like this where I go through like mystery shards of who could help you out in Fire Knights or Dragons, I can do that. I really enjoyed making this. I learned a lot about the characters when I read them. So if you're just finding me for the first time, you're liking what you're seeing, click that subscribe button, turn on notifications, blah, 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 blah. And for all my XMG family members out there, you know I love you. I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget, join the guild if you want to try out the game. Talk to you later. I'm out.